Hi, I'm Cole with Piranha Squirrel Productions, which is just me. But today we're going to be talking about adventure design and something that you can do to make your adventures flow smoothly. So there are two main ways that you can run a campaign, two big categories. One of them is episodic campaigns where you have a beginning and end in every single session. You have a nice beginning and a nice ending. They play like episodes of old television series. And then you have the big, long, sprawling campaign, which is one giant story told over many different sessions, more like a saga. This video is going to be talking about how to make episodic play in your games. The first thing that we need to do is understand how we are going to organize and structure our adventure. So an adventure has a beginning, and this beginning is the hook, and then you're going to have traveling to the adventure, then you're going to have the adventure, and then you're going to travel home. And then, of course, you get all the loot, and you get to spend all the money. And that's how we're going to organize most games in Along the Ley Line. That is the typical structure. All right, so let's look at each of these different parts. First is getting the hook. This is where players decide on what kind of adventure they want to go on. Ideally, you have several different adventures ready for them to play, but if you don't, that's okay. Just tell them this is the adventure and say you don't have anything else prepped. And if your players are nice, then they'll say, that's cool, we're going to run that adventure. However, you can find several adventures on DriveThruRPG, link in the description below. Some of them are free, like They Croak Every Night. Once they have decided on the adventure, it's now time for the adventurers, the party, to get ready and to go on the adventure. So give them an opportunity to buy things from the shop, buy things from town, adjust any sort of items they have in their pack, and then roll for a random encounter. So they should decide on how they're going to get to the adventure place. If you want to make it a little more interesting, have a safe path and a risky path. The risky path should get them there faster, but they should be more likely to run into random encounters with monsters. And if they take the safe path, it should have fewer monsters, but it should take them longer. An easy way to do this is to just roll twice on the encounter table, and if you get a monster and they're on the risky path, then they are going to run into that monster, and if they're on the safe path, they don't run into that monster. And then otherwise, just pick the one that you think is interesting on the random encounter table. Okay, after you resolve the random encounter table, you can move on to the adventure proper. They get to the place, they do the thing in the place, and now it's time to go home. Usually this works well if you have a really small dungeon, a couple rooms, a small cave. They do the thing there, they rescue the princess, they get the item, whatever it is. Then they head on home. This is the meat of the adventure. This should take an hour or two here at this spot. And now it's time to go home. You'll roll on the random encounter table again. You can do the same thing, give them a safe and a risky option. And then you resolve that random encounter. Then they get home and they get to spend all their loot. This is a great structure because it allows for characters to begin and end in town, which is a relatively safe place. You don't have to worry about remembering who was with the party in the middle and where exactly you were. You can always begin and end in town. If you are playing certain games and you want to pause at dramatic moments, feel free to do that as well. That's a different style of play. I like to always have beginning and ends to my adventures whenever possible, especially if you're playing with newer players or you're playing with characters who want to swap out different adventurers. If they're in town, well then the adventurer that they weren't playing with could still be in town and they could swap out that character if they want. Or if a person couldn't make it that night, no worries. They're just not going to go on that adventure with you. They're still in town. And it makes for a little bit more of narrative consistency. All right, that's basically it. You have your hook for the adventure, they decide where they want to go, they prep for the adventure, they go on the adventure, they travel there, something happens on the way there, they get there, they do the thing, They travel back, something happens on the way back, and then they get home and they get to spend all of their loot, do a couple of downtime turns, and that's it for the night. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and check the links below for more information about Along the Ley Line, my tabletop role-playing game with sword clashing action, lots of character choice, and really fun, creative options for your players. Thanks for watching, and may all your games be full of dread and laughter.